going to get started. We're going to open in prayer. And this morning, as we open in prayer, I'm going to ask us to do something as I pray. And it's just a little introspecting this morning. So as we pray, let's not think about the person next to us. Don't look at me, because I'm going to ask the Father to do the same thing that I'm praying about. Let's just bow our heads and we'll get started in prayer. We'll open up in prayer. Father, in this house today, we seek your presence, Father. In this house today, we ask that you would come in, Father, and look in and peer into our hearts, Father. Walk through every area of our life, our mind, our hearts, our hands, our thoughts, our intentions, Father, and reveal them to us. Illuminate our hearts and minds to see ourselves, Father. In this house today, we seek your presence. We ask that you would somehow heal the brokenhearted, set the captive free, speak your word, Father, and resonate life in us, the life that you would have us to live, Father. Help us to peer into what it is that is working, the work that you are doing in our life, Father. Help us to clean the mirror off in our eyes, Father, and see us how you see us, Father. Show us the way that you see us, Father. Humble our hearts, Father. And today, Father, as I have asked you to examine myself, Father, remove me of myself, remove my thoughts, remove my idioms. And as I've asked you earlier this morning, Father, this is your show. It's not mine. Father, when I stand here before you, I am a vessel, Father, for I am broken, continually, humbled, daily. So I thank you, Father. I ask that the words that you have given me to speak, Father, and the truth that you have illuminated me to transfer into others, Father, and to facilitate others into studying, Father, that it would heal, that it would cleanse, that it would speak, Father, and it will cut if it needs to, Father. Father, thank you for the work of redemption that you have done. Father, thank you for this picture of redemption, Father. Father, we again, I just lift up your name, Father. You are welcome today in this place, in my heart, Father, in my house, in my house, in my house. Father, you're welcome here. Father, I ask that the other women invite you into their house, Father, with no locked doors, with no concealing, Father. Father, for you know hearts and minds, and you know intentions, and you know the will of others, Father, just like you know mine. So, Father, again, examine, Father, and then illuminate, Father, and then heal, Father, those where you will cut, Father, because the word is a double-edged sword, Father, and it divides and it reveals, Father, and your word is the water that washes and cleanses. So, Father, again, have your way with this lesson and give us the mind today to look back into time, Father, and look at what this picture of redemption looked like. In your precious name, in Yahshua's name, and thank you for the blood. Amen. Amen. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So last week we were in Ruth, and we did 1 and 2. This week we are in Ruth 3 and 4, and it is the woman the king has his eyes on, part 2. But what her posture and character and her promotion looks like. This is the exciting part. Again, I know we talked about this being a love story, and it really is. It is a really beautiful love story, and it is one that we can model after. This book is practical. It's alive. And everything that happens here is a model. It's the acronym Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. So, or while we're walking through too, everything can be applied. There's nothing that you can say, oh, that don't apply to me. You might be telling a story. So I'm going to read 3 and 4, and then I'm going to go through my lesson, okay? So be a little patient with me. And today I am reading, my Bible is worn and use the keyword New American Standard Bible. So, 3. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her daughter, shall I not seek security for you, that it may be well with you? And now is not Boaz, our kinsman, with whose maid you were? Behold, he winnows barley at the threshing floor tonight. Wash yourself, therefore, and anoint yourself, and put on your best clothes, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. And it shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place where he lies, and you shall go and uncover his feet and lie down. Then he will tell you what you shall do. And she said to her, all that you say I will do. So she went down to the threshing floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law had commanded her. When Boaz had eaten and drank, and his heart was merry, he went to lie at the end of the heap of grain, and she came secretly and uncovered his feet and lay down. And it happened in the middle of the night that the man was startled and bent forward, and behold, a woman was lying at his feet. And he said, who are you? And she answered, I am Ruth, your maid. So spread your covering over your maid, for you are a close relative. Then he said, may you be blessed of Yahuwah, my daughter. And you have shown your last kindness to be better than the first, by not going after young men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you whatever you ask, for all my people in the city know that you are a woman of excellence. And now it is true, I am a close relative. However, there is a relative closer than I. Remain this night, and when morning comes, if he will redeem you, good, let him redeem you. But if he does not wish to redeem you, then I will redeem you. As Yahuwah lives, lie down until morning. Verse 14. So she lay at his feet until morning, and rose before one could recognize another. And he said, let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor. Again he said, give me the cloak that is on you, and hold it. So she held it, and he measured 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her. Then she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, how did it go, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done for her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said, do not go to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Then she said, wait, my daughter, until you know how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest until he has settled it today. Chapter 4. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz spoke was passing by. So he said, turn aside, friend, sit here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit down here. So they sat down. Then he said to the closest relative, Naomi, who has come back from the land of Moab, has to sell the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. So I thought to inform you, saying, buy it before those who are sitting here and before the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if not, tell me, that I may know. For there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am after you, he said. And he said, I will redeem it. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the land of Naomi, you must also acquire Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of the deceased, in order to raise up the name of the deceased on his inheritance. And the closest relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I jeopardize my own inheritance. Redeem it for yourself. You may have my right of redemption, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the custom in former times in Israel concerning the redemption and the exchange of land to confirm any matter. A man removed his sandals and gave it to another, and this was the manner of attestation in Israel. So the closest relative said to Boaz, buy it for yourself. And he removed his sandals. Then Boaz said to the elders all the people, you are witnesses today that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belongs to Elimelech, and all that belongs to Chilion and Mahlon. Moreover, I have acquired Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, to be my wife, in order to raise up the name of the deceased on his inheritance, so that the name of the deceased may not be cut off for his brothers or from the court of his birthplace. You are witnesses today. And all the people who were in the court and the elders said, we are witnesses. May Yahuwah make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, both of whom built the house of Israel, and may you achieve wealth in, which is Israel, but Ephrathah, and become famous in Bethlehem. Moreover, may your house be like the house of Perez, who Tamar bore to Judah, through the offspring which Yahuwah will give you by this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went into her, and Yahuwah enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. Then the women said to Naomi, Blessed is Yahuwah, who has not left you without a redeemer today, and may his name become famous in Israel. May he also be to you a restorer of life and a sustainer of your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. And the line of Dawid began here. Verse 16. Naomi took the child and laid him in her lap and became his nurse. And the neighbor women gave him a name, saying, A son has been born to Naomi. So they named him Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Perez. To Perez was born Hezron, and to Hezron was born Ram, and to Ram Aminadab, and to Aminadab born Nahshon, and to Nahshon Salmon, and to Salmon was born Boaz, and to Boaz Obed, and to Obed was born Jesse, and to Jesse David. Right? That's a heavy, right? So, the first thing I realized or witnessed in this was Naomi's posture. Again, she was willing to obey all that her mother-in-law told her. Her mother-in-law in verse 23, the last time we were here, asked her to remain with her after they'd gone back into Bethlehem, seeking the kinsman redeemer after they had lost everything. She knew that there was a kinsman redeemer, which means she knew the law. Her posture, even with her mother-in-law, was one of humility. Her mother-in-law said, My daughter, shall I not seek security for you? Which showed something. Her mother-in-law loved her and still wanted her to carry on her life. But we see last time Ruth was loyal to Naomi. So we saw here that the mother-in-law knew that she would do her no harm either. So in her being redeemed, it would be redemption for her. And so Naomi told her about Boaz and who he was, and she gave her instructions, and she did it. That's like, hey, Mom, how do you make this cake? Oh, you put this, and this, and make sure you put this in it. And you say, oh, no, I'm not going to put this pinch of sugar in it or this pinch of salt in it, because I'm just going to try it my way. And then what happens? The cake turns out wrong. Something don't happen. You leave out the baking soda, something falls. She was willing to obey her, which means they trusted each other. There was a relationship here of trust. And so somebody get 1 Peter 3:4, because what was her posture? Naomi's posture. I'm like, did I do that all wrong?
You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
1 Peter 3:4. But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet ruach, which is in the sight of Yah of great price.
Thank you. So let's deal with what a redeemer is, and there are different types of redeemers. Because last week we talked about what the kinsman redeemer was, and so I just want to kind of go over that too before we get too far into our word. So there were 3 types of kinsman redeemers, right? We know that there was the one that vindicated. We know that there was one that redeemed, and then one that rescued. And all of this is the same. But the one that vindicates, right? He vindicates death. So we see this picture in Boaz. He can't resurrect or can't kill death. Death is our enemy. But what he did do was he was able to defeat death by resurrecting a lineage. So he was one that acted as a vindicator in this instance. And as Yah is the Redeemer of Israel, we see that in Exodus 22, chapter 20, verse 2. He rescues the weak and needy. And I'll give you a couple scriptures. Psalms 82:4, Daniel 6:27, Jeremiah 20:13. And he's the preserver of his sheep. Ezekiel 34:10 through 22 and verse 22. And we know Yeshua was the ultimate kinsman redeemer, right? We see that in Hebrews 2:11.
What was that, Jeremiah?
Jeremiah 20:13. Someone read Romans 13:1 through 5. Because this is the woman that the king has his eyes on. He was in tune with her posture. There was a way that she presented herself that commanded his attention. So we know that the first thing that commanded his attention was her gentle, quiet spirit, right?
Let every being be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from Elohim, and the authorities that exist are appointed by Elohim. So he who opposes the authority withstands the institution of Elohim, and those who withstand shall bring judgment on themselves. For those whose rulers are in objection appear not to good work to the people. Do you wish to be not afraid of authority? Good, and you shall have praises from it. For if a servant of Elohim to you for good, but if you the people be afraid, for it does not bear its sword in vain. For it is a servant of Elohim, or a avenger to execute the wrath on him, who practices evil. Therefore, it is necessary to be subject, not only because of wrath, but also because of conscience, from that. All right?
Yes, thank you. She knew what to do whether someone was watching or not, right? She wasn't performing. She was told that there was a kinsman redeemer, there was somewhere to go glean, and she went to work. And she worked. We read about that. She worked. She came early. She stayed late. She was doing everything heartily as unto Yahuwah. She was not looking for the exception of the others around her, but she came and she was doing what she was supposed to do. And the eyes that were on her were the king. His eye, it commanded his attention because he came. Because we like to look at this as, I guess the wording of it of the day, maidservant or maidens, they were employees. So she went and worked with all the other women who had already been there. She's like the new girl on the job. She comes and everybody looking, and she coming early, she leaving late, and she's putting in her work. She not wasting time with the gossiping, not wasting time with spreading the lies or the rumors. And it caused him to investigate. Who is this woman? He inquired. Remember, he inquired about her. Who is she? She came working amongst her fellow maidens, employees, because again, they were employees. So let's just kind of fast forward into modern day time. This is Boaz. He owns a corporation. His corporation is barley in this season. He's a farmer. And so this is the assembly line. These women are working the assembly line. She come in and she worked. And she's not looking to do anything but to care for herself and her mother. Let's remember what happened. She had experienced great loss. She is a foreigner, so she is out of her comfort zone. She knows no one. She's left her mother, father, brothers, sisters, everybody to follow this mother-in-law that she loved and to serve her Elohim. That was it. And her posture commanded the king's attention, right? I got so much of it there. Naomi also knew something. Naomi knew the law of the kinsman redeemer, right? And the kinsman redeemer knew the law of the kinsman redeemer. Once it was explained to him, I'm not going to go ahead of myself. So she went she told her something. She said, now go to your kinsmen where your maids are. Wash yourself. So there was there were prerequisites before this. Same thing with us. Before we enter into Yah's presence, before we come into his courts, before we bring ourselves into his presence, there should be some prerequisites that take place. You don't come any old kind of way. You don't bring right here, just right here. It says, wash yourself, therefore. Anoint yourself, and put on your best clothes and go down to the threshing floor. So, ladies, it is lawful to cleanse yourself, to oil yourself, to smell good, to prepare yourself to go into the presence of Yahuwah and to go into the presence of the others in the assembly as well. And she said to go to the threshing floor and don't make yourself known. Again, go in quiet. Hey, no. Cleanse yourself and go, because there was something that was going to take place here. It's still, and she says, and it shall be when he lies down that you shall notice the place where he lies and go and uncover his feet. To lie at somebody's feet, what is that? Humble. What else? To lie at somebody's feet, what does that say?
Put yourself
At their mercy. And what else? So you have to do what? You have to do what? Though I'm not going to lay at just anybody's feet, because if I lay, you could step on my head. You could step on my neck. I have to trust you. She trusted her mother-in-law and she trusted him. There was a even exchange of something. She was trusting that the good that he had already shown her, that she could go forward with that. I have examples. You have to trust a person before you can put yourself at their mercy. When we share as women, sometimes we share, sometimes we talk, and we can kind of get carried away with ourselves sharing. We feel like we've connected, and then there are things that happen that show you like, okay, I need to do Michael Jackson, reevaluate, kind of backslide a little bit and sit back, because I've seen that I can't put myself at the mercy of this person, because if I humbly lay at their feet, they're going to wake up in the middle of the hour, they're going to pretend like they didn't see me and step on my head, step on my neck. Something else too, if somebody uncovers your feet, you sleep, you be warm or whatever, you could be, all this could be warm, your feet are uncovered, it arouses your attention, right? But she didn't do it in a way where it was, what's the word I'm looking for? She didn't do it in a way that, she didn't do it in a way that was,
perceptible?
No, not that.
Forward.
It was very subtle. It was very subtle. It wasn't very forward, it was subtle. And she went in and she laid at his feet, so she went down. And when he had eaten and drank and his heart was merry, he went to lay down. And at the end of the heap of grains, and it happened in the middle of the night that he was startled. And he asked her, he said, who are you? And she said, I am Ruth. Spread your covering over your maidservant. What is the covering? What does a covering represent? Protection. Spread your protection over your maidservant, for I am you're my close relative. So I know who you are. That's a picture of something, right? We go to Yah or Yeshua. I know who you are. I know what you have the ability and the power to do. But I'm asking you to cover me, because now what is Ruth? She is without a covering. Her and Naomi, they're without a covering. They are the widow and the widower, or they're both widows. She's the elder, and she's a young woman. I am vulnerable. I'm out here. I'm a stranger, and so it's a picture of us with Yeshua when we go into prayers, almost like a model of how you can pray. I am a stranger here. I don't know everything. You created this universe, and by divine design, two people got together, and I'm here. I'm vulnerable. I need guidance. I need protection. I'm coming under your covering because I am letting you know that I am exposed.
Yes.
And at some point in their exposure, we know, although this is, people are keeping Torah, we know that in this time, what had happened, why did they journey into Moab? Because every man did according to his own law what was right in their own eyes, right? So they were doing all kinds of unmentionables. And a woman is an elderly woman and a young woman, they're vulnerable. Anything could have happened. You know how the laws are corrupt now. I rape her and then I say, no, I didn't, and I didn't promise this or promise that to her, and throw her out there, and then she's no good, nobody wants her. It could have been an all bad situation. But she found protection. And then he witnessed something. He was impressed by her in verse 10. He said, may you be blessed of Yahuwah, my daughter. You have shown your last kindness. The final thing that you've done. I've been paying attention. So he's telling her, I've been paying attention. Your last kindness to be better than the first by not going after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear, for I will do for you whatever you ask. For all of my people in the city know that you are a woman of excellence. He saw some things about her. I see something about Yah too. In this instance, Yah loves women. He loves his women. He makes provisions for his women. But verse 10, he speaks to her character. He says that she operates in, somebody get Galatians 5:22. One of the last fruits. Go ahead.
Galatians 5:22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness.
That is self-control now on there? Or is it the same?
It goes on to weakness.
Yes. Keep going.
Against such there is no law.
Yes. Self-control. She's young. She come back to town. She could have had the pick of the litter. She could have went and gleaned in anybody's field, because that's what she was saying. She was going, if you go into the field and serve, because you could have been anyone's maid servant. But you obeyed your mother-in-law and you came to this one. You could have picked the richest man in town. I mean, he was well-to-do, of course. They came from a lineage. The name itself meant king. God of Yah. Make sure I say it right. Elimelech was Elohim of the king. So they came from a strong lineage. So he already came first. She's trusted that which her mother-in-law told her to, the instructions her mother-in-law told her. And verse 11, he says, now my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you whatever you ask. For my people in the city know that you are a woman of excellence. So remember, we look at Proverbs 30, the 31 woman, and people always say this is a model of a woman, but it's not. A lot of in the Christian walk, it was unattainable. It's a lie. Because excellence, if you look at in your Hebrew Strong's 24:28, is Chayil, and it is a het, ayin, and a lamed. So Chayil, excellence. She's separated by the work or deed to move towards something, a go control, staff go control. The word actually excellence means she's a woman of force. She's a fortress. She's full of resources. She's an army. There's wealth in her character, right? She's able. The activity of her life is strong. There's substance. She's trained herself and worthy. She's a warrior. So excellence, that's what it means when you see a woman. She's full of resources. He watched that, okay? You self-controlled, meek and quiet, strong, and humble. meek. Meek does not mean she's weak.
Right.
Does not mean can walk all over. If you in a field all day gathering and shucking barley, I don't know how you gather it. I didn't research into that, but she's a strong woman. You've sojourned, you've lost, and you looking to be redeemed. So he says, everybody. He said the whole town. He didn't just say I know. He says all of my people in the city know that you are a woman of excellence, just by observation. She didn't say much. Did Ruth say much in this? The first thing she said in the beginning was what she said to her mother-in-law: where you go, I'll go. Where you stay, I'll stay. I'll leave my family. I'll follow your Elohim, and I'll die wherever you die. That's what she said. She made one powerful statement, and everything else was all about that action. Everything else she did. It was nothing. There weren't many words, which tells me something else. The king has his eyes on a woman who has... Listening is an art. It is. It's a skill. What's that?
Watching.
Listening and watching. Listening is an art. You can't hear nothing if you talking. Where there are many words, offenses are bound to follow. Because you don't hear me, I don't hear you, you don't hear what's being instructed. And guess what? You miss out on your promotion. Because all you doing is moving your mouth. She didn't say much. She didn't say much. And so he says, and now it is true. I am a close relative. However, there is a relative closer than I. Oh, my goodness. So he beckoned her to remain until the morning. And I just want to just clear the minds of us. Because the first thing we think about a lot of times is we look at things from our perspective and from our trauma or from our vantage point or our position of where we've sinned or where we've fallen short. Sleeping at his feet did not mean that they had relations, because I seen some of that in the conversing of when I was researching the word, what certain things meant and what the custom was that day. They did not sleep together. They didn't consummate anything. They didn't do anything out of order. This was the custom of the day. This was, I had one of the ladies, she left. She went back to home the other day. But she was asking that. She's like, so I want to know about biblical dating. What was biblical dating like? I said, there was no biblical dating. Somebody find me the scripture where it says, you treat your brother, a young man, a man is to treat his sister or the woman like his sister, and she used to treat the man like her brother. And in community, that's why we lived in community, you watched. And you watched. And then everybody said, you know, that's a good guy. His mom and dad raising him up right. And you know what, he likes this, and she does this, and they have this in common, and their family believes Torah and this, and then there were arranged marriages. It wasn't no dating. It was none of that. Didn't leave room for what? For the enemy to even tempt. No, this is your brother, and it's
also a scripture that said, do not make whores of the daughters of
don't make whores of the daughters of Zion. Hallelujah. And so what it was people always say, oh, well, you know, we got divorced because we weren't friends. Well, you weren't friends because you didn't know each other, because if you had lived in community, if you had practiced not dating, because this whole Western concept of dating is so crazy. People think that marriage means you're not friends. You better be friends. You got to be together the rest of your life. Y'all better like each other. So there's a friendship. There's a friendship first. And so the whole community had seen this. And the whole community had seen her. So her character, again, was one that caught the community, not just his attention, but the community's attention. So he asked her to remain there tonight, till the night, and let him redeem you. Let the kinsman redeemer redeem you if he can. But if not, I will. So you lay down. So she laid at his feet. She rested. Again, she rested at his feet. Somebody get Romans 13, 1 through 5. Oh, that's it. Oh, we already did it. Yes. Yes.
Before you go to that, read Ezekiel 16. I mean, 16:6 through 8, because it gives you the picture from Yah's point of view. Like you're talking about the trauma and seeing things one way, and then Yah does the exact same thing that Boaz did, and it's even more stark. Yeah.
Ezekiel 16.
I'm sorry, verse 6.
Ezekiel
16.
Starting at verse 6.
Hold on just a minute. So he says, oh yes, his grace to unfaithful Jerusalem.
And when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy own blood, live. I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great. And thou art come to excellent ornaments. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thy hair is grown, whereas thou wert naked and bare. Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love. And I spread my skirt over thee, and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee, and entered into a covenant with thee, said Yahweh Elohim, and thou becamest mine.
Hallelujah. That was great. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. So the trauma.
So you would think of all those as perversions.
Perversions.
You see the person naked, and you would think that it would be a perverted sense, but he's like, I see your nakedness.
I see your nakedness.
And I'm going to cover it instead of
Exposing you.
Yes.
I didn't throw you out the tent.
Yes.
I didn't say, oh, hey, look at, like Noah's sons did, the one son. The others walked in backwards and dropped a cloak on their front. I don't know what it was the other one did, but he exposed his father's nakedness, his shame, where he had a little bit too much to drink. Where he got a little happy. So he went to his I'm all in Ezekiel now.
You want Romans 2 and 3? Oh, Genesis.
No. We already read that. We read that one already. Sorry.
Genesis 1:31.
No, I'm just gonna go ahead and we're on the second point. That even Yah obeys his own laws. Because it's a picture of this too. Yah, or the king in this instance, Boaz, even obeys his own law. He says, okay, I am your kinsman redeemer. But there is one before me. I mean, that comes in another order of me, and I'm going to go to him. And I saw something like magnificent in this. Because we know we had the first Adam, right?
Yeah.
And he blew it.
Yeah.
He disqualified himself. He says, I have one that's closer than I, but if he can't do it, then I'll do it. And we saw Adam didn't do it. Because we sitting here today, and we sitting here broken because of things that have happened way before us. And so there was another one that had to come and redeem, right? So he said, so he told her to lay at her feet, and he said again, give me your cloak. He didn't send her away. He told her to rest. Rest in his mercy. And he said, I will redeem you. Redemption, is it redeem? Yeah, redemption here is the word Ga'al. You'll see it in your Hebrew Strong's 1350. And it meant to buy you back. To buy back. Or to ransom or deliver. So I'm going to deliver you from the position that you're in. And he told her, he didn't send her away empty-handed. He sent her with sustenance. So when she went to her mother-in-law, she said, where have you been? And he told her, he said, he gave me these 6 measures of barley. He said, don't go to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Then she told her to wait. What does waiting mean? Anybody know what that means? It don't mean just sit there. There's something, it's an action that takes place in waiting.
Anticipate?
Continue to serve. Continue to serve. No matter what it looks like, continue to serve. Yeah, there's a promise been made. That don't mean you slack up now. Don't go to work late today because you think, ooh, the king don't... No. Still go to work early. Still leave late if that's what you've been doing. still do everything as you had before, even though he's noticed you. Don't stop. Don't stop now. Don't get lazy. But I just saw that he didn't send her away empty-handed. He made provision for her. And when I said earlier that Yah loves women, he made provisions for even those who were in others that were in lowly positions. Look at Hagar. Look at her in Genesis 16:9. Somebody read that. And then somebody get Genesis 21:17. She was a maidservant.
Genesis 16:9. And the angel of Elohim said unto her, return to thy mistress and submit thyself under her hand.
But what had happened before that? Does anybody know the narrative of that story that happened before? Remember Yah had promised them a seed, and Yah was taking too long, and they took it upon themselves. Like, hey, you go into that tent and give me a baby. And then she got pregnant, and then she got a little proud, and she was walking around, and she was taunting her maidservant. Sarah put hands on her, and she ran off. It's the truth. You know what I mean? And it was what she wanted. It was what they thought they wanted. But no, out of order, right? Manipulating the order of operation. And she didn't foresee that part of it.
Right.
And so she ran. She was out in the wilderness, and the Melachim told her, go back, humble yourself. Because now you start smelling yourself, and you done got you out of order. Go back and submit yourself under the hand.
We talked the other day that all Melachim are not angels from heaven. So somebody, Yah had an appointed person meet her and tell her something. And as a young woman, she had to obey it. Because that'd be a hard thing to hear. Somebody's kicking your butt and they tell you, you the problem.
You the problem.
It wasn't her.
It wasn't her. And that, thank you for that. Thank you, because there was something I wanted to make sure I didn't miss. It is not hard to serve when you are being loved.
Yes.
It is not hard. It is not a disservice unto anyone when you are being loved. It is not a grievous task to serve when you doing it for the joy of and the fact of the matter that this person loves me. And it don't seem like what did it say with Jacob? He served again for Raquel 7 more years, and it wasn't grievous at all. He loved her, so he was there 14 years trying to get what he came for, right? Because he loved her. And the same oh my goodness. And when you loving someone else, loving a person, right, just like Yahuwah loves us, and she loved her mother-in-law. Thank you. Selflessly, she served. She loved her. It was nothing. It was nothing to do with it. And so it's grievous, though, when you have a hard taskmaster, right? And so it becomes grievous, like in Miss Wright. It was grievous. They killing us. They throwing our babies into rivers, and they want us to make bricks, and they want us to make these big pyramids, and we building towers to the Shemaim and everything else, and they beating us and not feeding us. It's hard. It's hard. You start thinking of all kinds of things to do, right? So I saw the provisions he made for Hagar, and then somebody read 21, Genesis 21:17.
I have it.
Okay.
And Elohim heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of Elohim called to Hagar out of the heavens and said unto her, What ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for Elohim has heard the voice of the lad where he is.
He makes provisions again. Because what had happened here? Now after the baby, the promised seed, Isaac was weaned, seen Ishmael teasing him. Ishmael was what? A hunter. Now I'm trying to protect home. Okay. He's a hunter, and he's meddling and poking at this is my promised seed, and he might accidentally on purpose hunt and accidentally do something to my baby. Yeah, that kind of thing. So now it's becoming too much. Send him away. He did his, Yah came to him and he did his, as he said, I'll provide for the lad. Because he loved his son. It wasn't, so don't, again, in our trauma, let's not look at this like we've seen families and things like that before, like, oh, get rid of the son, don't take care of him. No. I got this. He's the first, right? He gets the birthright of the firstborn. He didn't get the spiritual birthright, but he did get the birthright of the resources as well. So he sent him away, and he trusted, and Yah heard the boy crying. She told him, go off, I can't watch you die. We out here, we're going to die. And provisions were made for him. Provisions were made for Leah, because we know that Jacob did not love Leah. He didn't. But she has a testimony, right? A lineage of all the way to Hamashiach came from her loins. Hannah, she the same thing. Her husband loved her, but he had a maidservant. She had kids, she had none. He heard her. So he makes provisions. Rebecca and Raquel, same thing. Their husbands entreated Yah to open their wombs, and he did. So in verse 4, we see a picture. Boaz went to the gate. So we know that the gate was one that sat up, and this is where the judges and the senators and the elders who ruled the community sat. And what did I say last week about 10? He saw his close relative, and he seen him passing by. So he said, turn aside, friend. Come sit down. What did he call him? Friend. Come here, friend. I need to talk to you. We have some matters to discuss. And he took, I'm going to whip my Bible up. He took 10 men of the elders of the city and sat down. And said, sit down here. So they sat down. 10 represents what? Last week, completion, divine order. It represented the strong hand of the community. 10 plagues, yep. The strong hand. So we see the 10 men again, the elders. The elders is the word zagan, and it is the aged or the ancient, the man or the woman. The senator, is one who rules, and one who's experienced, because they've been through certain things, they've dealt with certain matters. And just something to clarify something, chronological age and spiritual maturity don't go hand in hand.
Thank you.
If you a silly young woman, you will grow up and be a silly old woman. If you do not humble, submit, listen to instruction, allow someone to take you under their wing who has walked that walk already, and you watch their lives, and their lives are one that speak of their journey. You watch, you listen, and you watch. That's what you do. That's what the word says. Shema Israel. Hear, observe it too. Shamar means to keep guard, right? And asa, or do. Hear it and do it, right? So I'm watching this lady. She's heard and she's done it. Some by trial and error. Some just by hearing it. There are two different types of learners. Some have to learn by experience. Some can hear and see somebody else do it and not do it. I don't need to find out that it's hot, water hot, the fire hot. You know what I mean? Fat meat greasy. I don't need to know. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it in my era, like growing up. I remember when we were younger, it was certain things that happened, and I was like, "Ooh, that might have to make a believer out of me." That I don't need to try that to find out that that's what's gonna happen, because I don't think I'm stronger than that person. I can't do bad worse than she doing it, because it might do me worse. I might like it too. Drugs or just whatever it was, whatever that person's vice was that caught them up. You don't have to do it. So he's the close relative said to, Naomi has come back. He's told the close relative, and you see he didn't say his name. His name isn't mentioned. Why? When names are mentioned, it's for a reason, right? His name wasn't mentioned. Was not of any importance because what did he do? He was not able to do it, right? He was not able to do it. So it says, he says, so I thought to inform you that we're going to buy this land of the elders, my people. If you will redeem it, and if not, tell me that I may know. And so he says, okay, I'll redeem it. And then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field, the land of Naomi, you must also acquire Ruth, the widow of the deceased, in order to raise up the name of the deceased of his inheritance. And the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I jeopardize my inheritance. What does that mean? Because at first, when I first read it, just kind of skimming over it, I'm like, he can't do it. It's a disgrace not to carry on the seed of your brother. It was disgraceful. Because what happened to the one brother, somebody get the story, who dumped his seed on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
What do y'all do to him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he died. He died. Because what happens in death? That's why it's against Torah to murder, man or woman. But when you kill something, you kill the seed. The seed goes in the ground. They're no longer able to produce. So you stop the lineage of that person. You stop the, like, say, forget you and your whole generation. When we was little, we get mad. all that stuff, we would say that. But you think about that. Where did that come from? You tell me I want you dead. Yeah, because when you kill something, you kill the continuance of that. You kill the inheritance of that. So death is an ugly thing, and it was disgraceful not to carry on the seed of your brother, because you know that name has to live for the inheritance to continue. So to wipe off the inheritance. Somebody read Deuteronomy 25:4-9. I think this is carrying on of the seed.
You said 29?
Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn.
Is that Deuteronomy
Mm-hmm.
25,
One more verse. Just keep
4-9? Just keep going.
Yeah, that's it.
4-9. Keep going, though.
Brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall see the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders, and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call him, and speak unto him. And if he stand to it, and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house, and his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoes loosed. When a man strive together one with the other, when men strive together one.
That's good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but that is the picture here. So he went to the gates to the elders, and they he told them that there is a field to be bought. He said he will redeem it. And then he told them the next part. He says, okay, on the day you buy the field, you acquire Ruth, and you have to, of the deceased, to raise up his inheritance. And the closest relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I jeopardize my inheritance. Redeem it for yourself, and you may have my right of redemption, for I cannot redeem it. So we know here the brother was gone too, so the brother couldn't redeem Ruth. And so I was like, okay, what does jeopardize in this sense, or in this passage mean? And so I looked it up, and it's the Hebrew Strong's word shakah, and it meant to lose or decay or corrupt or spoil my own inheritance, which made me look at the next word next to it, and it says yakol, which is the next word. He says, I'm not able to. And he said, I'll redeem it for yourself. You have the right to my redemption. And the word yakol is the root word, of jeopardizes yakol. It's in your Hebrew Strong's 3201. And it is to be able to morally. I don't have the power to morally do this, which might have meant he's already married. So morally, I can't. I could buy the land, but morally, I cannot raise up a seed because I already have a family. I'll spoil my inheritance. And so he said, okay, then you buy it. So we see here that kind of can rid some of that wife thing too, that second wife thing. No, I'll ruin my inheritance. I'll taint the seed. Good.
He knew his limitations.
Patience.
Because even if he had a first wife and he was just raising up seed to that wife, he would also have to take care of this woman. He was well aware of probably what he was married to. I mean, just being honest.
Truthfully.
He was like, this is not going to work
this
for
ain't
me
gonna work for
situation.
me.
So
and that's where I was going with that too. I was like, yeah, he knew his limitations, his ability, morally, and with having the power to. I can't do this. Financially couldn't afford it, and the other wife has to agree. The responsibility.
It's not just buying
that can't happen.
Now it's the full
responsibility.
And depending on we don't know his whole situation, but he was a man that was able to because he wouldn't have went to him.
Right.
But he was just like,
no, it's not gonna work.
He wasn't mad about it. He was
no.
Just, the way he said it was just like, you know what? You may be better for this job.
You are better for this job than I am. I do. I have the capacity, but I don't have the power. I don't have morally. I don't have the time. I can't. It's more than a notion.
Maybe he was older.
I have girls. I had 3 girls, and now with the 11-year-old, sometimes it's more than a notion because I'll be like, ooh, why I didn't kill the other 2 when they, because the hormones and the meds and the
Maybe he was older.
stomping off and all that. So I'm like, oh my, what in the world was I thinking about? Sometimes I'll be like, oh, just getting up, having to get up early now, taking her to school again is like, dang, I forgot all about this 12. I could have been done with this. And now the mood swings and all. I'm like, ooh, my goodness. So can you imagine a man in the house with 2 other? I be feeling sorry for Maury sometimes because we be all in the house and me and Carly be getting up early in the morning and he'd be like. And he'll go back and tell Holly, he says, I'm just scared for Carly.
He said, did they have a rough morning?
Did they have a rough morning? Are you having a nice day? He'd be like, I'm just scared some morning. I'm like trying to figure out what be going on. I said, trying to get, he said, Carly's mad every morning. What's wrong, sister? Oh my goodness. It is. So no, he said, I don't have the capacity to do this. No. And so he says in the custom, and we just read the custom of the day, in the custom of, in a disgraceful matter, they would have loosened his shoe. But you loosen the shoe, what means you can't do? Can't walk, can't go nowhere, right? So it's when you start looking at it, it's real practical. It's practical. But then spitting in the face, that is spitting is shame. It's a fighting situation. That's like, oh, that's just a lot. So
That's
reflex, right? Do it back. Yes. So he says, no, I don't have the capacity. I don't have the power. So we see here, so the close relative said to Boaz, buy it for yourself. Then Boaz said to the elders of all the people, you are my witnesses today, which means when you have situations that need to be solved, there needs to be some voices of reason around. Somebody that knows how to do conflict resolution, can hear past all of the emotions and get to the issue, hear past, get to the root of it, get to the root of the situation, and it needs to be done clear and frank. That's why a lot of times, like we were talking about that, men and how they handle things, it's like they stick to facts. They don't work in feelings. They boom, 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 boom. It's dealt with. Not yesterday, not today. But you walk by fast and I said hi. I didn't hear you. I literally, my sister-in-law, I literally had a person mad at me because on the freeway, she said I looked at her and I turned my head and kept driving. I'm driving. But when I went and I saw her a week later, I was like, hey, how you doing? Don't talk to me. Like, all right, I don't talk to you. What's your problem? Because I said, okay, I'm looking to my left and to my right. I didn't see you.
Right.
I saw you. Okay, well then, you can't charge that up to the girl. Because the text is like, hey, girl, you just rode past me. I didn't do that intentionally. What is this? So, sticking to facts, working practicality, what could be going on, perception, what is happening. If I ran past you, maybe I had to go to the bathroom or anything. You don't know what's going on. So let's work on that too. So the offenses, so that come. So it says, we talked about, I'm in verse 9, 10. He says, moreover, I have acquired Ruth the Moabitess, the widow, to be my wife, to raise up the name of the deceased on his inheritance, so that the name of the deceased may not be cut off from his brothers or from the court of his birthplace. You are my witnesses today. And then I seen something awesome. He blessed him. They said, okay, we are your witnesses. May Yah make the woman who is coming into your home like Raquel, Leah, both of whom built the house of Israel. May you achieve wealth in Ephrathah and become famous in Bethlehem. Moreover, and they blessed him and blessed his home and his family. Yah even obeys his own laws. Genesis 1:31. The king even obeyed the laws. He went and operated according to the order operation. He knew the laws were set up, and he obeyed the law. Okay, there's one before me. Somebody, you can read Genesis 1:31. Then somebody get Romans 2:13. 1:30. Genesis 1:31, and then Romans 2:13.
All right.
Go ahead.
And Elohim saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
He obeyed. I don't know what that came. That's the wrong one. Sorry about that.
Is that seven?
No, that's the one. Where he obeys his own law. He obeys his own law. He made the days, but that didn't tie into that one like I wanted to. Go ahead. Let's see what it says.
All right, chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim, verse 3, and Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made.
Okay. So the day that he made for rest, he hollowed it out, and he did what he intended to be done on that day as well. He was the example first. Absolutely. So, where am I at here? Romans 2:13.
Romans 2:13. For the hearers of the law are just before Elohim, but the doers of the law shall be justified.
Amen. So it's not just one to know the law, but to do the law. We can know a whole lot of stuff. We know a whole lot of scriptures, right? We can point a bunch of people into different directions, but we don't ever apply them to us. So to know something is one thing, but it is counted to you as righteousness to do it. So in this picture here, we see Ruth working out her own salvation as well. It's a picture of working out her own salvation. She heard it from her mother-in-law because, like she said, okay, I'm going to submit to you. Your Elohim will be my Elohim. I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. Tell me what to do. She submitted to it. So she worked out her salvation. She heard it, and she did it. And so we'll get a chance to see the provisions. We see the provisions made with him knowing that she was a woman of excellence, that she was, the whole town knew of her, and so he made provisions for her. He sent her away not empty-handed. He showed her something. Not only did he say it, right? He said, stay here and rest. And if I can do this, I'm going to do it for you. And if it's true, I'm your kinsman redeemer. He made provisions. He said, okay, I'm going to do it. But then he sent her away with something. It's one thing to say something, but I fed you too, right? So I can't say I love you. And then I turn around and mistreat you. At the same time, that's not love. Oh, but you know I love you. No, that's not love. That is chaos. That's confusion. You don't love me. I'm hungry. I love you. But you didn't give me no bread. You didn't give me anything to clothe me. You didn't do anything to sustain my physical needs. So we see here where in verse he's able, Yah intervenes. So they blessed him. They told her, they told him that they bless his home, his family, and his offsprings from this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. And he went into her, and Yahuwah enabled her to conceive. Who did it? Yahuwah intervenes. Yahuwah opens and closes the womb. He enabled her to conceive. So we look at where he intervenes. Somebody read Psalms 127, 3-5, and Isaiah 66, 9-19. Yah gives conception. Anybody have it? Just go ahead and read. 127, 3-5, and then verse 13. 3-5. Go ahead.
Okay. Children are an inheritance. I'm sorry, let me start over. Lo, children are a heritage of Yahuwah, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of the youth. Happy is the man that has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate.
So the speaking of the enemies in the gates, your children are your protection as well. You raise them up right in Torah, they'll be the ones to rule next. So the fruit of the womb is the blessed womb is a gift from Yahuwah. Somebody read Isaiah 66, 9-19. Go ahead. Is that my idea? What version? Are we on 9? What verse? Yeah, we could stop. Okay. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So Yah gives conception. Conception in Hebrews is hara, and it means to become. So Yah causes life and that to become. So Naomi was blessed. It says she gave birth to a son. Verse 14. Then the women said to Naomi, "Blessed is Yahuwah, who has not left you without a redeemer today, and may his name become famous in Israel." She was blessed. Yah is the restorer of the downtrodden, and that was just. It says, "Shall I not?" He had. We said the divine order. Remember last time, the divine order. There was a famine. You went to the land. You married. Your sons got sick. They died. You came back. Everything was divinely orchestrated, although it looked chaotic at the time. It looked like her whole life had fell apart. But we see Yahuwah as the restorer in Genesis 30:22, and in 1 Samuel 2:1, 2, and 6. He turned her mourning into dancing. Somebody read Psalms 30:11-22. Because remember when she came back, what did she say? "Oh, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because Yahuwah has dealt with me harshly. Lost my son, lost my husband. I'm coming back empty-handed. I left full and I'm empty." Who wants to? Again? Okay. Genesis 30:22. 1 Samuel 2, chapter 2, 1, verse 1, 2, and 6. And so he told her, you're welcome. He says, "May he also be to you a restorer of life and a sustainer of your old age." This is verse 15. "For your daughter-in-law who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons has given birth to him." That is an amazing picture. She obeyed her mother-in-law, obeyed the law, kept Torah, and we see her being rewarded for what she did. It's just it's an awesome picture of what she did. She wasn't she did what was called of her to do, and what she had said. She was loyal to her word, and we see the blessing of her fully trusting Yahuwah. Somebody read Psalms 30:11-12.
You have turned for me my mourning into dancing. You have loosed my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness, that my glory may sing your praise and not be silent. O Yahuwah, my Elohim, I will give thanks to you forever.
Hallelujah. And so verse 16, "Then Naomi took the child and laid him in her lap, and she became his nurse. And the neighbor women gave him a name, saying a son was born to Naomi. So they named him Obed. He is the father of Jesse and the father of David." And so we just have the lineage here. And if you want to do some homework, because I know what it means, but I'm not going to tell you guys. So you just, the names. Look at what the names mean. And her promotion. Somebody read Psalms 45. I'll read Psalms 45. Somebody read Colossians 3:23 and Jeremiah 29, 12 and 14. 12 to 14. I'll read the last one. She did things unto Yahuwah, not looking for accolades and not wanting to be noticed by anyone but him. So he rewarded her. Go ahead. If whoever has Colossians 3:23. Okay, read Jeremiah. Go ahead. 12 through 14.
Then shall you call upon me, and you shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you, and you shall seek me and find me, when ye shall search for me with all your heart. And I will be found of you, says Yahweh, and I will turn away your captivity, and I will gather you from all the nations and from all the places whither I have driven you, says Yahweh, and I will bring you again into the place whence I caused you to be carried away.
Man. Okay.
Colossians 3:23. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily, as to Yahuwah and not unto men.
Hallelujah. And Psalms 45:9-17 says, Melachim daughters are among the noble ladies. At thy right hand stands the queen in gold from Ophir. Listen, O daughter, give attention and incline your ear. Listen, O daughter, give attention and incline your ear. Say it one more time. Listen, O daughter, give attention and incline your ear. Forget your people and your father's house. The king will desire your beauty, because he is your Elohim. Bow down to him. And the daughters of Tyre will come with a gift. The rich among the people will entreat your favor. The king's daughter is all glorious within. Her clothing is interwoven with gold. She will be led to the king in embroidered work. The virgins, her companions who follow her, will be brought to thee. They will be led forth with gladness and rejoicing. They will enter into the king's palace. In place of your fathers will be your sons. You shall make them princes in all the earth. I will cause thy name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore, the peoples will give thee thanks forever and ever. So, her work, her character, her posture gave her promotion. That's what her promotion looked like. Forever and ever and ever and ever, Ruth's name is remembered. We're talking about her today, right now. The lineage of Hamashiach. We're talking about because of her faithfulness, because of her humility, because of her excellence, what she did in excellence, because of her valiant heart, because of her lack of fear, because we know fear is the false evidence appearing real. If I leave everything, what's going to happen? Who going to take care of me? What I'm going to do? Those were not her cares or her concerns, right? She was more concerned with her mother-in-law leaving her and her not seeing her again. She looked forward to the glory that was set before her. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave everything and I'm just going to go. So her promotion is excellent. She gave birth to kings, literal kings. David was a king. She gave birth. That was the seed, the fruit of her womb. So that is what her promotion looked like. Do we have any questions?
That was good. I have one. Initially, you said there were 3 types of redeemers.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me again what those were, if you don't mind?
So we have the kinsman redeemer. He's the avenger of blood. We had Yahuwah, where he acted, and the avenger of blood. Sorry, the kinsman redeemer, and then we have the avenger of blood. So the it's 2. Sorry, the kinsman redeemer is the one who carries on the seed. The avenger of blood is the one. That's why they have the cities of refuge. Because if you didn't do it on purpose, you could await trial. But if you did it, there was one that your blood was required of you. Your life was required of you. If you shed blood, you know your life is required of you. You don't kill. And to purge sin from the land, that's what Yah required. But if you didn't do it on purpose, then they had the cities of refuge. You ran to that city of refuge until you could await trial. And then it was, okay, if we were striving one with another and I pushed him or he bumped and hit his head and died, yes. He all of those. That's what I said. That's why in the end, Yeshua is all. He is our redeemer. He's everything. He did that work to avenge it, to finish it. He's coming back to avenge. And the first time he was the redeemer. This time he's the avenger when he comes back. Then we have one that is the preserver, which is still of life. So just like the kinsman redeemer, the one that preserves the life, they redeem one who. And then we have Yeshua. He's all in all. And I use Hebrews 2:11. for that. Do we have any more questions? Any more comments? Anybody want to add anything? Anybody see something I didn't see?
I just wanted to bring up, oftentimes when we're reading scripture, it seems, you hear from people, especially who are not in Torah, how unfavorable the woman is, the light she's fitted in. But if you're doing something wrong, it's going to be presented as wrong. But in this sense, you have a situation where the scripture says that her daughter-in-law was better than 7 sons.
Yeah.
And so you have women who almost despise having daughters because of the stigma culturally of having them and the trouble it is to raise girls. But when they're raised well, they can be better than 7
sons. A blessing. They will be a blessing. Someone asked me that too, and they asked about, they said, I want to have 5 boys. And they said, well, I said, I had a balance. And they were like, well, girls seem to be a lot of trouble. I said, but your girls don't leave you. Your sons leave you. Your sons will leave and go get a wife and cleave to their wife. And depending on the type of relationship they have with their mother, they're going to take the children to their mother if they're close to their mother. You don't get the children unless you integrate in as well. Because like my son-in-law, he's close to his mother and father. And now my daughter's not here, so he takes them to his mother and father. But his mother and I are friends as well. So we share a mutual, because when she took on my daughter, when my daughter married her son, she didn't have any boys. She wanted a girl. So she had a daughter. And she's embraced my daughters, my other daughters, my grandchildren. So we family. So when we have Sunday dinner, they come over. We interact. We talk. We travel together. All of these things. So when things are done right, when the family is merged right, well, it ain't no Hatfields and McCoy stuff going on. But your daughters don't leave. Your boys leave. So to have a daughter, when your daughter marries and she has children, those children become your children too. When my daughters have their kids, they brought me their children. So I saw the picture very vividly. She came and she gave the baby to her mother-in-law, and she said she became his nurse on her lap. She was his nanny. That was her baby. She raised him in Torah, because guess what else? She knew that Naomi knew Torah. She took him, and he was raised in truth as well. You gotta be careful about who watches your children. I have some traumatic experiences, just not, and it's not all the other stuff people might think about, but just the things you hear when you're being watched by people, what they might say. Kids hear things, and that stuff I remember, because I was a child of a first marriage. So my brother and sister had the same mom and dad, but I didn't. And so my aunts, and not they love me to death, but some of them not mean anything like, you look just like your Aunt Deborah. But one of them had children by my aunts. They had children by the same man. So I thought that my aunt didn't like me because I looked like my auntie, because they had kids by the same guy. So really both my cousins, I have first cousins on both sides, from the side I was married into and from the side I was naturally born into, which is crazy. But you ruminate on those things as a child. Or somebody might, look at her, look at you chubby, you this, just little things you hear as a kid, and it gives it, in your mental bank, creates imagery. So you be careful where you leave your kids, or who watches your children, who speaks into your life, who talks to you about your children. That's why I was talking about today, to examine our own houses. Don't come cleaning out my cabinets and washing my clothes, and I come over to your house and it look like a tornado hit. Don't tell me what to do with my kids when yours is out. I seen yours doing this, that, and the other. Your kids will tell on you. They will.
I also saw something in this. A lot of times we have confident children or confident people, and sometimes we mistake that for different dispositions, because Ruth was very, very confident in how she wanted to follow after Naomi. And oftentimes we shut it down instead of building. So she built her confidence. You watch her, she's like, okay, well then do this. well, then do this. She trained her in her confidence of walking alongside her. If you say you want to walk alongside me, then I'm going to test you and try you, but I'm not gonna lead you astray. And I watch it sometimes, but obviously if you ever met Ari, then you know she has a very, very confident personality, and there's nothing that she can't do. Like, absolutely nothing. If she thinks she can do it. But if you tell her she can't, then she never will. So that's something I also saw here with helping push the generation forward. We'll find out what they're confident in and then push them in that. Because oftentimes I think we lay our own burdens, our own insecurities, our own traumas on children, and then it stifles them.
Yeah.
It does.
Right. And as I used to tell my son, he's 27 now, he thinks he can do anything, and they ask him, how can you do everything? Well, he can't, but
Yes.
I never told him that
No,
he
you
could.
can't. And if you don't tell a person that they can't, they don't believe they can. And that was my disclaimer. I was the young parent. Everybody thought that I wasn't, because I was young, I wasn't training my children. I said, no, I let them experience certain things with boundaries. If it's going to be unto death, no, you can't do it. But if there's an experience or a lesson to be learned out of it, I'm going to watch from the back and watch how it turns out. And I'm going to intervene where I see the danger coming. But for the most part, I know what I put in them. I know what they can do. I know what I put in. And you study your children. You watch your children. You watch your children. You know your children. And then, again, you sharpen the skills. That's what it says about the parent, the mother. She knows her child. She studies her child. She doesn't, again, you don't place your fears on the child. Like Ari, she used to eat everything. And then Jade, I didn't like cheese. So Jade, all of a sudden, she don't like cheese. I don't want cheese. I don't want cheese. She doesn't like cheese because her big sister doesn't like it. So she took on that disposition. And now Jade eats cheese and Ari won't. Just, it's funny. So those things you watch, what they watch and how they do and how they grow. And she ain't but this big. But again, like my grandson, he said, I'm not no baby. I'm a grown man with a mustache and everything at 4. Anything else? Anybody else have anything they want to add? It has been very pleasant this week. I want to personally thank the women who love does meet need. Love sees the need and meets it. And I just want to personally, from the bottom of my heart, extend my gratitude for those seeing the need, seeing when the burden was getting heavy, stepping in without me having to say anything, because what we are observing and watching one another and seeing where one was lacking, because I was getting tired. And service is, and I have to remind myself even up into doing it, because sometimes we get anxious before we serve. We get very anxious because I like everything perfect. I want to do it, and I want to do it in excellence, and I don't want to do it with an attitude, and I'm not doing it to be seen. I'm doing it because I would much rather be doing a million other things. I'm creative, so I always got a new something I want to try out. And so the burden of serving you ladies and the burden of your experience being one that you can go back and share with others how you were greeted, how you were treated, is the thing that just it gives us anxiety sometimes because it's heavy. But I said, okay, you know what? We were down to like 2-3 days. I'm like, okay, we gotta do this. We gotta do this. And she said, Mom, just let it happen. Y'all gonna bring the increase. Do everything in excellence, and then watch him do the rest. He elevates it. So I want to thank you all for being available and being used and allowing y'all to elevate you to a position of service as well, coming alongside, serving with us, because we are servants. There's no big eyes. I'm not a leader. I'm a facilitator. I guess I'm a leader, but I am a servant first. And I would much rather not have to lead sometimes, because in leading, I get dealt with a lot. I get a lot of, and I go through a lot of trials, and we go through a lot of, obscurities. But he's awesome. He's wonderful. So I'm grateful for my ladies. Yah has a way of showing you who's here and who's yours. and who He's placed in your life. And it's so wonderful. So I love you all. That's from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.